What is private equity? Let's talk about it. In the next 2 minutes, I will explain what private equity actually is, how PE firms make money, why they use so much debt, and what happens to a company after it gets acquired. Let's dive in. Private equity sounds complicated, but the basic idea is actually pretty simple. A private equity firm raises money from investors, then uses that money to buy companies, try to make those companies more valuable, and then sells them later for a profit. That's private equity in one sentence. The investors are usually pension funds, insurance companies, university endowments, wealthy individuals, and other large institutions. Suppose a private equity firm wants to buy a company worth 500 mil. It usually doesn't put up the whole 500 million itself. Instead, it might invest 200 million in equity, borrow the other 300 million, and it will be called a leverage buyout or LBO. And usually that debt ends up sitting on that company's balance sheet. The company's own cash flow is then used to pay the interest and gradually pay down the debt. So let's say 5 years later, the company is sold for 700 mil. The debt has been reduced from 300 mil to 200. The company sells for 700, and the remaining $200 million of debt gets paid off. And the investors now are left with 500 mil. So originally they invested 200 mil. Now they have 500, and that's a 2.5 times return. But paying down the debt is only one way that private equity firms make money. There are 3 other major drivers. The first one is operational improvement. They can increase revenue, cut costs, change management, improve pricing, automate operations, or acquire competitors. Second is deleveraging. As the company pays down the debt, more of the company belongs to the equity investors. And the third one is multiple expansion. Maybe they buy the company at 8 times EBITDA and later sell it at 10 times EBITDA. Even if profits haven't increased dramatically, the higher valuation can generate a very large return. Of course, leverage works both ways. If the business performs badly, debt can magnify losses just as quickly as it magnifies gains. So eventually, the PE firm needs an exit. They may sell the company to another corporation, sell it to another private equity firm, or take it public through an IPO. So the private equity model is essentially raise money, buy companies, use leverage, increase that value, and then sell. And in the next video, I'll show you some of the tricks and gimmicks private equity firms use to make the companies they own look more profitable than they really are, or at least in paper. And if you like this explainer, click like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.